Tonight I'm going to discuss central auditory processing disorder. My daughter, she's 13 years old now, and I knew she had a problem when she was 3 years old, and I was really worried about her learning like nursery rhymes and learning how to sing simple songs. And she was in pre-K, and I remember very vividly that she was trying to look at the other kids to try to understand what the songs were and try to learn the words herself, and she just could never get them down. She had to have speech early. The speech helped her, and by the time she got to pre-K, she didn't need speech anymore. But auditory processing requires a lot of accommodations to help out the kids with learning and reading and writing and math. I know that my daughter has had a rough go of it because auditory processing has really been a difficult part for her in her life. I have tried to learn as much as I possibly could about auditory processing disorder, just for the simple fact that I want to be knowledgeable about it so I can help her. At some point in the future, I'd really like her to go to college and move on, but it's really hard for her to learn and to grasp concepts because she just has a difficult time hearing the different sounds that people make. So if you said the couch and the chair, she might have thought you said the cow and the hare. So sounds can be misinterpreted in her brain, and it's really hard for her to understand a lot of times what people are saying. And one day I realized that she actually reads lips pretty well. So I told her to start reading everyone's lips when she's at school, she's at a social function, anytime, try to read lips. And I taught her to use her cell phone so that she could use talk to text and to submit her homework assignments right through her phone. It just makes it easier if she can do the work herself, because a lot of times she's had difficulty in the past of doing her homework because it's too difficult. She just cannot make heads or tails of things and has to always constantly ask for help on how to spell things. So she's been behind pretty much her whole life, but she got a really good foundation in kindergarten. Her kindergarten teacher worked extra hard with her for the entire school year. She would work with her during lunch, and she got this special program called Orton Gillingham, and it gave her a really good foundation so she learned how to read. And she's very good considering the circumstance, you know. I really think she's done really well for herself. And in fact, this year, she was in special ed last year, and this year she started regular ed again. And she's actually passing all of her classes. But it's been a little difficult, but she has a really good special education teacher that helps her this year. So I know that central auditory processing disorder has to be diagnosed by an audiologist that is experienced, and they cannot get this test until they're like 7 or 8 years old. Sandra was very young, and we knew she had some problems, but they wouldn't test her for it until she was a little bit older so they could make a definite diagnosis. She's like the sweetest girl you'll ever meet. Everybody says she'll never, get in trouble, and she's always really well behaved in school. And I'm really proud of her for how far she's actually came. So some of the accommodations that they use at school for children with central auditory processing disorder is that they give them preferential seating. Sometimes they give them an iPad so that they can do different programs on there, like the talk to text. They try to set them close to the board at school so they can see better and hear better. And then they give her a one-on-one aid a lot of times so she can get her tests read to her, as well as have the aide clarify the directions and take notes and ensure she has everything she needs to be successful. Because a child with auditory processing disorder can sit there and try to take notes and really never get anything out of it because they're trying so hard to copy everything down perfectly. They're not learning. So one year my daughter really had difficulties. She said that, she felt like she didn't even exist at school. Like, none of the kids really liked her. And she really wanted to play sports, but she couldn't get the rules down. And when she was on the playground, she had to sit by herself on the swing, and she just did that instead of communicating with people because it was just so difficult. And I've been really pushing her to advocate for herself and be more vocal about her disability. I had her go to a meeting for the IEP with me the last time, and she was crying. It was so difficult for her to hear what they had to say, and I just told her, honestly, it is difficult to hear. When she was younger, the first IEP meeting that I went to for her, I was crying because they tell you all this stuff about your child that you just don't want to believe that's true, but when you hear it from someone else, it's just devastating. So she's learning more about the fact that she does have a learning disability, and she doesn't have to be bashful or worried about it. She just tells people what it is up front, and if she's honest and open with people, they're going to understand that she just learns differently and she has to work harder for what she gets in life. So another accommodation that they use is they have these headphones that is directly linked to the teacher, and this will help her be able to hear strictly what the teacher's saying instead of having to hear all the background noise, because that's another thing that she's had to deal with is the hypersensitive hearing, and everything is amplified. So she used to tell me that the cafeteria was so extremely loud for her. She was worried about how loud it was and how she had to cover her ears. She just couldn't even concentrate. So I talked to the school about everything she's ever told me just because they need to know. The school was just kind of like, you're a really good parent. You always come up with things that we can do to actually help, and they wish that more people would actually come forth with the information. Like, I usually type up a bunch of stuff about it because I talk to her directly to ensure I know what's going on with her and what she needs help with and what she could benefit from. She also receives speech therapy and occupational therapy because she's always had trouble crossing the midline. That's when your one arm goes to this side and then your other arm goes the other side. She always had trouble doing that. And she didn't learn how to ride a bike until she was 11 years old. And then when she did start riding her bike, she broke her leg. So now this year she's riding her bike again, but her ankle still bothers her quite a bit. But I'm just glad she didn't give up and she kept on going and got back on the bike. The speech therapy is a couple times a week. Sometimes they push into the classroom or they pull out. They try to teach her to actually speak up because she's so shy and quiet. But the reason for that is because of the disability. She doesn't want to be wrong, and she doesn't want to say something that isn't the correct answer. So another thing is they do a lot of training with her to try to build her memory because she has tolerance fading memory as well, and it goes along with this disability. And I often wonder, like, if her disability is linked to the fact that she was 3 weeks early and she wasn't getting any more nutrients inside of my stomach. So she was only 4 pounds 5 ounces when she was born. So I often wonder that maybe she just didn't get enough nutrients and this caused her to have this central auditory processing disorder. It also is linked to heredity. So it might be hereditary through her father, because her father has some kind of learning disabilities as well. They really never labeled it central auditory processing disorder, but he also said that he suffered the same things that she does. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video on auditory processing disorder, and I hope you can take something out of this and maybe help someone along the way with their learning disabilities. Thank you.